Bonanza Bros, a game that I remember really stuck out to me compared to other games of the time. The European box art was definitely eye-catching with the rendered 3D characters of Robo and Mobo. In today's video we'll be having a look at this gem of a game. Our focus will primarily be on the Genesis or MegaDrive releases. There'll be some clips from other notable versions, such as the MasterSystem and PC Engine CD. Numerous ports exist, all with interesting and quirky differences, but I'll be highlighting those I think which are most interesting. So, Bonanza Bros is a side-scrolling cops and robbers-like game. It consists of testing your timing and dexterity through 10 stages. Grab all the items you can in the time limit and try not to get shot, battered or squashed. You can enjoy co-op action with a buddy, or simply get to it in single player. It was released for the MegaDrive and Genesis in 1991, a year after the initial arcade release. The MasterSystem version followed in 1992. The myriad other versions also released around the same time, bar the more recent PS2, Wii and Steam releases. As for story, well, that's an interesting topic. The EU and Japanese versions share a different tale to that told in the North American release. We'll go through the original story first though. Robo and Mobo are two, as quoted from the manual, bungling thieves who operate in the town of Badville. The police chief has been fighting a losing battle against corruption in the city. He knows about illegal operations at the casino and mint, but has no evidence to back up his claims. He gets in contact with Robo and Mobo to strike a deal. He knows he can put them away for a long time. Instead, he says he'll get them off the hook for their crimes if the duo break into certain locations and retrieve evidence for the police chief to end the corruption in Badville. The manual is very interesting to read, and it's just so fantastic seeing the extra effort given to add flavour to the game. As for the North American release, well, our protagonists are renamed to Spike and Mike. An odd decision, but that's what they rolled with. Spike and Mike are investigators or security testers. They're approached by a businessman who has been the victim of repeated robberies. He needs them to test his security forces by retrieving every specified item from his properties. Not sure on the angle with this story. Maybe it was thought of as being more child-friendly. Regardless, an interesting change, but one I feel isn't quite as good as the original. So, gameplay is fairly straightforward. You have a gun that can stun any guards you cross paths with. To pick up loot, simply run over it, though if you get hit you drop all of it. This isn't much of a problem unless you're in an awkward position with lots of enemies. You can jump and have the ability to move between two planes. You can hug a wall, which helps throw off any guards that may be chasing you. Enemies detect you by line of sight, so if you approach or come out of cover and they're facing the other way, you can get the jump on them. You also need to be careful of enemies alerting others. Seemingly innocuous enemies can be a pain if they alert a gang of enemies. Timing comes into play with moving to the back plane upon alerting an enemy. You can dodge their hits, avoiding any harm. Also, even if you alert an enemy, you get a split second to subdue them. Some enemies have shields, which may mean it's best to avoid them and take another route through the level. The environment even adds variety and entertainment to the gameplay. Doors can be used to squash enemies. The massive metal presses do much the same on the mint level. I think the door squish is my favourite means of incapacitating an enemy. A couple of the levels have zip lines, and even objects you can use to disguise yourself to throw off any pursuers. The map helps you navigate your targets, and is certainly invaluable. Occasionally it will throw you off, as where an object appears might not be quite where it actually is. Some routes might only be accessible through certain staircases. It adds a little extra thought to getting everything, as between that and the time limit you can really get caught out. So mostly we've been looking at the MegaDrive version, but there are some interesting differences in the other ports. The MasterSystem version is a rather impressive port, and one that adds a few little things, though it has to omit the co-op mode. Here you can choose to play as either Robo or Mobo, rather than them being tied to player 1 and 2 respectively. The bonus with it being single player only is that you get to use the full screen. One thing that really bugs me about other releases is that they limit you to half the screen. I wish this was possible on the MegaDrive. It's understandable as to why the screen is split, but this is a nice change for the MasterSystem. The levels follow the same flow but have slight differences. You'll find staircases have 2 levels. These can easily work for or against you. If being chased, you can jump to the middle part of the case to make a quicker escape. The bad thing is you can also fall down and get stuck. You can't shoot as far here either. This can make things more difficult, but conversely the enemy layout and behaviour is adjusted for this. In terms of difficulty, there isn't much between this and the MegaDrive version. The movement and alerting timings are different, which can throw you off if you're used to the former. Graphically, it's obviously different due to the hardware, but there are some really cool little additions. Different coloured enemies and even new enemies. In the lab level, there are robots and scientists. The robots are seemingly invulnerable to your gun, but they have no ranged attacks. On stage 8 you're introduced to the samurai and ninja guards. The samurai guards are rather infuriating, as they seem near invulnerable unless you catch them off guard. The ninjas are fast and take extra hits to stun. Overall, these are very interesting little changes. You also get the bonus stage, which for some reason is absent in MegaDrive version. This is a really cool version and demonstrates how impressive the Master System was for an 8-bit console. It suffers with slowdown when there's lots of enemies on screen, but I think that's understandable and forgivable. The PC Engine, or TurboGrafx version, has hands down the best music. I find the soundtrack to be simply fantastic, and it really drives the whimsical vibe. The Dixie-style jazz is right up my alley. Utilising the PC Engine CD-ROM treats players to fully sampled audio. If you're a fan, you have to check out this version for that alone. I would say though that the PC Engine version is not quite up to the MegaDrive version. The colours aren't quite as pleasing, and the gameplay just doesn't feel quite so fluid. For a fan though, the music is a must listen. Of course, there are myriad other versions, but maybe we'll take a look at those in another video. One version though that I feel I should mention is the Sega Ages 2500 version. On the surface it looks great, but the gameplay is absolutely dire. It is the worst out of all those looked at in today's video. The enemies and timings relate nothing to the MegaDrive versions. There is no time given between enemies spotting you and reacting. Movement is awkward, enemies get stuck, and at one point I was unable to continue as my loot was stuck in the wall. It's a frustrating version and one that I think should be avoided at all cost. So this was a look back at Bonanza Bros, a kooky cops and robbers style platformer. It's great fun and nothing groundbreaking, but I think any retro fan would want to give this one a look. It's incredibly charming and might just rope you into doing a complete run. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment and let me know if you've played Bonanza Bros before, and if so, which version. I've also uploaded my gameplay video. I'll put the link for that below in the description box. Apart from that, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you want more like this, and I'll see you next time.